Hey guys, in this short video, I'm going to debunk a few of the myths of when you can and cannot use the E7 chord instead of E on ukulele. By the way, very often you can, and I'll explain when and why in this video. I'll talk about some of the theory behind it and the specific use cases when E7 is totally cool. I went way more in depth in another video where I played through 15 different songs trying E7 and E and explained why it works in some cases. I'll link to that one at the end of this video and in the description below. If you're curious about any specific songs, you can scrub along the bottom of that one. Okay, let's dive into the video. Thanks. So I've recently shared on Facebook and many different ukulele Facebook groups a page from my book, 31 Easy Ukulele Songs, in which I suggest some easy chord alternatives, and one of them is the common substitution of E7 for E. But I should clarify that sometimes it doesn't work, okay? And I'm going to get into the specific keys later on in this video in which it's a no-go, that the E7 really won't sound great, but in many cases it does work, and I'm going to explain why. But first I want to kind of break down some opinions that I've been coming across on Facebook in regards to that E7 substitution. So some people will say, absolutely not, it's a cop-out and you should practice the real chords and anything else is like not being a real musician or that kind of thing. Well, first of all, some people just can't play these full shapes, and that's okay. I've had many students that are over 70 that really can't stretch to reach the common ways of playing an E chord like this, for example. And now they might prefer the barred shape, like doing the 4th fret bar and reaching the pinky at the 7th fret. That's also E major, and that's cool, you can do that. But for them, only pressing the top 3 strings might work, and they might also really prefer to do an E7 open shape in many cases, okay, which does sound different and is different, but it really can work. Substituting chords is okay. And of course, for younger kids, if you're like 4, 5, 6 learning the ukulele, a stretchy shape like this, where you got to get that index over to the 2nd fret, or even a bar like this is just too difficult. They can't reach and they're not strong enough. I've also heard people say, well, no, you can't because it's a different chord. It's a 4-note chord. Yes, E major is a 3-note chord. So you'd have an E, a G sharp, and a B in this chord, and the different voicings just arrange those notes differently, whether you do this one or even this open shape here. They're all just different ways of playing those notes, those 3 notes organized differently. And in E7, you add one more note, you're adding a D. So an E7 is comprised of E, G sharp, B, and D. So when I play an E7 chord like this, I'm in fact playing those 4 notes. But substituting chords is a common practice in music, or reharmonizing, you could call it. Ask any jazz pianist, they will put all kinds of different chords on top of what's written on the chart. Furthermore, some might say, no, it's wrong if you're doing something different, play what's written down. Guys, some of these charts have mistakes. Some of these charts, you'll have one song that shows it in E, like House of the Rising Sun, for example. 4, 5, 6, the 7th chord is in E major. You might have it as E in some charts and E7 in others. That's a good hint that either one could work, but also some of these charts are just plain wrong. So trust your ears, and it's okay to experiment, and it's okay to substitute chords. And don't always trust what's written on the chart. If you look up different versions, maybe a guitar chord version of the song or even a piano chord version of the song, you might see different things and be able to kind of pick and choose the chords that work for you, that maybe are a little easier for you to play or that you prefer the sound of, and that's okay. Many players that are comfortable playing an E chord, either way, might prefer the sound of E7 in certain cases, as I'm going to dive into right here. So when is it okay to use E7 instead of E? Well, any song that's an A minor, like House of the Rising Sun, for example, it is totally okay to use the E7 instead of the E major, because in this case, the 5 chord of A minor is E. Okay, A, B, C, D, E. The 5th degree of our key is E, and the E7 will work very well in that case. Okay, it has a nice kind of gravity that wants to resolve to A. It has a tension that wants to resolve to A. But the E major is fine too. Another example of a song that's in A minor in which the E7 is interchangeable with E would be One More Cup of Coffee by Bob Dylan. If you have a song that's based on a blues where the chords you see are mostly E, A, and B, and you might have like a B7 or an A7, in that case, the E7 is cool and the E is cool too. If you have a C sharp minor in there, you're probably in E major, and that's different. But if the song is very bluesy, like Satisfaction or the beginning of Big Yellow Taxi or Born to Be Wild, the E7 is really going to work well. Anything that's just a blues with mainly those four chords, E, A, and B, E7 is a safe bet as well. Now, if the song is in E major, where E is like your one chord, so that would mean that when you play the E, it sounds like home. It could be the end of the song. It sounds conclusive to play the E chord. In that case, E7 is probably not going to work, okay? And a good hint that you're in E major is if you have C sharp minor in the key, so you'd have like E, A, B, and C sharp minor in there, then you're going to want to stick to E major, and there are any of the easier variations that I've already discussed in many of my videos. I won't go into them now, but E major is going to be your go-to. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you learned something. Click the like button if you got value out of this. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much.